This Photoshop lesson is about using the text tool and some of the styles and features that are available. If you don't already like Photoshop because of all the photo editing and the tagging and all that neat stuff, you probably already do. I'm going to give you more reasons to like it. Now when you get in here, you can go to Organize, but at some point we need to go to Edit Full Version. So I'm going to go right to Edit from here. And even though we're not going to be editing an existing photograph, that's still where we're going to go. Okay, so you'll notice from here we're in Edit Full here. Okay, so this is where you want to be. The next thing you need to do is ask for a brand new file. So you go File and New, and a blank file. It's going to give you some choices for sizes. If you know exactly how big you want this to be, then you can choose exactly the size. You can change this from centimeters to inches. Some of you are more accustomed to working in inches. And here it's going to give us 6.3 by 4.7. I won't worry so much about the size right now because you can change it later, okay? But if it's not big enough, that's going to be hard to change. So if you think you might need bigger than this, then do change it. So maybe you can go 8 by 8, or you can go 8.5 by 11, like a standard size. It's totally up to you. And you can give it a name right away, or you can save it after. Again, that's your choice. However, one thing I would recommend, even though we can do this later as well, I would definitely ask for a transparent background, because in this lesson I'm going to create like logos that will go on the top of pages, etc. And I don't want the white showing up. So I'm going to ask for transparent here, and I'm going to ask for OK. And this is what you get. This is your working area. You can make this a little bit bigger so you can see it better, but I want to be able to see my tools, so I'm going to bring that back to the way it was. Now this is the working area that we have. Next, I want to talk about the text tool. There are other tools we'll cover in other lessons, but for now I want to talk about creating logos and stuff. So I've just hit the text button. And it's a little slow right now because I'm recording this video, so my computer's not enjoying having to do both at the same time. Now here I can put, I'll just use the word photos. So I've just typed photos, but it's really, really small. So now with my text tool selected, I'm going to want to make that quite a bit bigger. So here you can increase the font size. So I'm going to select that text first, and then I'm going to increase the font size. Next, you can change the style of font, and there are many, many to choose from. There's some real neat looking ones, and you can turn them on, and then if you don't like the way it looks, you can ask for a new one. So I'll use that right there. And if you want to make this window bigger, you can make it bigger so that you can see more of what you're doing. So I've got this photos here, and I've also zoomed in because I wasn't able to see this properly. So you can change your zoom at any time. Okay. So I'll go back to the text here. So standard formatting stuff. Again, I'm going to select my text, and with it selected, I have different options as far as text styles. You can also change the color of the text from here. So if you wanted a green or an orange, all right, so you can just change it. So now the text is orange, and then you've even got some different choices as far as how to align. I'm not going to go through every single option because I want this video to stay relatively brief. When you're pretty happy with what you've got there, you can hit this right here. All right, so now we've got that. We're pretty good with that. Next, I want you to understand that you've got this style button. Now here is where you can spend hours just checking out all the different styles. There are many menus. This is the first menu. If I click this arrow, it shows me all of the other menus that are available. So right now I believe I'm in bevels. If you want to see what the bevels look like, those are the bevels. If you want to see what the shadows look like. Now before you go away, you might want to try this. Okay, so now it just applied that to this, and I can try a different one. This one already looks a lot better than the first one did. So you're going to want to experiment and see what some of these look like. Some of them are incredibly cool. And when you find some that you like, you're probably going to want to take a mental note that you really liked that one, and you might want to use it again and again. I just want to show you that that's just bevels. So now we can go into drop shadows, and then we say, okay, well, instead of that bevel, I'm going to ask for this drop shadow. Okay. However, what I'm getting is I'm getting the bevel as well as a drop shadow. So some of these features undo the feature before, and some of them complement, in other words, are added to the features before. If you don't like what you've got and you've done too much experimenting, you can remove the style, and it goes back to the way it was. And again, back to the menu. There are just so many to choose from. I don't want to go through all of them. I'll let you do that. Okay, so now we've got these plastic effects here. Okay, where now I've applied a blue plastic effect to this whole thing. And this is what this looks like. Now, I've zoomed out a little bit so I can see a little better. When you want to move your object, you can click on this tool right here, and that allows you to take your object and move it a little bit lower. If I save this, it's going to save the background as well as this little image. And I don't really want to do that. So what I want to do is I want to crop out all of the rest of that stuff. Even though it's transparent, I want it gone. Because when I insert this into a document, I don't want this big block coming out. So better to crop it now than later. So when you're happy, if and when you're happy with what you've got, and you've gone through all your different styles, you can go to Image and Crop. Okay? And then I would simply crop as tight as I possibly can around what it is I want. Okay, this has some shadowing effects that linger beyond the blue. And then when you're happy with it, you would just hit OK. And if you realize that you've still not cropped enough, you can crop again and say, oh, I got too much stuff on the right there. And then that's good. Okay, so when you're done cropping, that would be a good time for you to save this. Now there are two ways to save. First, you can save this as a project. So that way you can come back here, and if you wanted other labels with the same style, you wouldn't have to guess or go back and redo everything that you did. You'd simply be able to retype right over top of this. So if you go save as, you'll get this message. Just say OK. Save it as a Photoshop file first. So save this file first and call it something relevant, of course. And now that this file has been saved, I can also save this as, I would recommend a PNG. That way your transparency will remain transparent. So I would also take this and I would save as, and from this drop-down list, ask for a PNG right here. And then, again, give it a name that makes sense. So logo photo, let's say. And if you know you're going to be using this in a specific folder, like your yearbook folder, save it there instead. So that way you don't have to look for it over and over and over again. So especially when I'm doing websites, I'd like to save things right into the web that I'm going to be using this in. So I know that in my websites, I've got a website called Yearbook going, and I've created some Photoshop images in here, and I'll save it right there. And apparently interlace is the way to go. That way it's going to look a lot more like what you wanted it to look like. So choose interlaced here and then hit OK. Now just to cap off this lesson, I want to show you what this some of these look like when you put them into an actual document. You know, I find a lot of them look better when you put them in a document. Just to give you an example, I'm going to take the one I just created and I'm going to just drop it in here. And there it is there. And I'll just save this real quick and go into preview. And there's that logo I just created, and for my money, it actually looks better than it did here. I don't think that little grid that they put back there does it justice. And I know that most of them that I created over the last couple days actually came out looking better than I thought they would. So those are just some examples of the ones that I played with in Photoshop. So there you go. Just another reason to really like this program is the fact that you can create your own logos, etc. And later we're actually going to be merging some of these words along with photos that we have to create one item that we can then save as a separate picture and then insert that into other things as well.